right, today I am interviewing Alison Sathe, Redica Systems Senior Vice President of MedTech. Hi, Alison.
Hi, John. Nice to be here today.
Good to have you. Tell me a little bit about who you are and what you're working on for Redica.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have spent the last 20 years in the MedTech industry in the regulatory and quality space. So doing things like regulatory pre-market submissions, global strategy, interaction with regulatory agencies, as well as on the QMS side, designing workflows and SOPs for compliance. And I came to Redica a little over a year ago now to help direct our MedTech data and analytics products. So that has been part of the process that we've been going through is utilizing our existing or leveraging our existing inspection and enforcement data, and then bringing new MedTech product-centered data to bear on our analytics products and providing those to our MedTech partners.
Yeah, I know there's a lot cooking with MedTech, as there is with pharma and all of life sciences within Redica Systems. But I definitely want to go deep on MedTech with you today. So I'd love it if you could sort of frame up where data analytics and specifically our flavor of data analytics is within MedTech. Like, is this a mature industry? Is it a budding industry? Give us that kind of framing and where you want to take our product.
Yeah, so I think in general, most folks feel that data is underutilized within the quality system and RIM systems in the MedTech industry, right? So we have a lot of utilization or some utilization of internal data, right? But that external data is not as well brought to bear. And we've got two problems, I think, with both the internal and the external data. One is structuring. So basically, a lot of this data that comes to us is disparate, it's siloed, it's unclean, and so therefore it's really difficult to pull analytics out of that. And that's one of the things that Redica excels at, right? So we've been doing this for many years on the inspection and enforcement side, is bringing together all of this disparate data, unifying it, structuring it, and cleaning it so you can actually get insights out of it, right? So there's a problem with folks' internal data. So when you're looking at your complaint data and NCRs and CAPAs and all of those things internal to the quality system, but also on the external side as well, right? So when we're looking at various regulatory agencies globally, actually bringing that together, cleaning it and linking it, that's where some of these really exciting insights can come from. Mm-hmm. And when we link that data, we can answer questions that were previously unanswerable. And those, of course, help us in our quality management system to move to a more proactive space, right? So like any quality or regulatory professional, we spend a lot of time thinking about risk management, right? So compliance risk, quality risk, product risk, site and operational risk. This data helps us avoid those risks, right? And de-risk our products and our processes.
Okay. And how is this different than how compliance risk management and regulatory surveillance, for example, would work within pharma? How is pharma different from MedTech?
Yeah, we could talk about this all day, right? So there's a lot of differences, and it's really interesting because when we look at the data sets, we can think about large swaths of data, inspection and enforcement data, post-market quality data, submission data, licenses, registrations. All of these things are kind of the same across industries, right? Pharmaceutical products have registrations and licenses, MedTech products have licenses and registrations, but they're done so much differently within each space that the analytics that we provide really need to be tailored to the industry, right? So when you think about the product life cycle for, MedTech products, you've got a lot of design changes and iteration and new licensing events and those kinds of product changes across the life cycle. You've got lots of different post-market reports that you're doing, and you're measuring quality in slightly different ways than you might do so on the pharmaceutical side. So, to me, there's really this need for a tailored approach to the industry, because although we're all doing kind of the same jobs in terms of like ensuring product quality, ensuring drug safety and quality. Those are accomplished in very different ways. And of course, they have different sets of regulations, right, that they comply with. So having those tailored products is really important.
And on that note, correct me if I'm wrong, but one really interesting difference is that in MedTech, at the product level, we're able to zoom in on a particular product because we're assigning products unique identifiers. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. And so not only do we have that with UDI, which most people are familiar with, right? So you've got your unique device identification, and that's associated with the product. But you also have that in terms of what we assign, which is the Retica ID, right? So rather than just looking at something at the incredibly granular level like UDI, we can roll that up, kind of that data hierarchy, to look at a product over time as well. So we can look at the collection of UDIs under a license or within a product family. We can look at how those types of events that are associated with all the different UDIs within a product family contribute to product quality, potential quality risk, potential regulatory risk, if you're looking at things like predicate and reference devices. And we can look at those at that product family level, at the license level, at the UDI level. And that's why that Retica ID is so important, right? Because that's actually how we structure and harmonize that data or link that data across different data sets. And that's really kind of the unique thing that Redica does, is that advantage of linking between data sets. Because again, that's where some of these novel insights really come from. And I'll give you an example, because this is kind of hard, I think, for us to think about, because a lot of these questions we've never been able to answer before. So for example, if I have a class 1 recall and I know the FDA is going to come in and inspect my facility, good things to know are, when are they going to come in? What should I prepare for? How should I be ready? What types of corrective actions should I do? What types of inspection issues are typically found for recalls like mine, for sites like mine, in a post-recall inspection? So those are some of the things that we can do by linking data across data sets that were previously disparate and unlinked.
Yeah, I think that certainly echoes one of the main advantages for pharma as well, and for all life sciences company with Redica Systems, is being able to not just access data, because I think if you look at FDA as a data source, for example, they publish lots of different types of data fairly diligently. But the real secret sauce is combining all of those sources of data, types of data, and then structuring them, labeling them. Because without that, you're extremely limited in the types of analyses you can conduct. But once that is labeled, clean, structured, enriched, you're virtually limitless in your ability to conduct pretty powerful analysis on top of it.
Absolutely. And really, every company, every product team is constrained in the amount of resources that they have, right? We all have a certain amount of hours in the day. Even incredibly well-staffed quality and regulatory teams are limited in the capacity that they have. So always the answer that we want to get to is, where can we best spend our time and efforts to make sure that we have the best quality, the best submissions, the best compliance, right? That we're providing the best product to our end users. And so this data helps shape that, right? It helps you do things like select the most appropriate and lowest risk predicate device, and that can lead to shorter submission times optimally, right? It can help you understand, okay, for these types of issues, what are compliance events that surround these? So I can make sure that my company is compliant, that we're doing all the right things. So really making sure that data, as you said, is actionable is really the most important thing, right? That data should be working for you to make sure that your quality and regulatory teams are freed up to do all of the work that they need to do, and not focusing on analyzing that data and collecting that data, which historically has been a lot of the way that that's been done, right? The regulatory professional has to go out, they have to gather that data from various different global, resources, they have to bring it together, they have to do analytics on it, and there's not enough hours in the day to do all of that, oftentimes at the level that we would like to. So that's what Redica does, is kind of provides those really actionable insights directly to, you and your regulatory and quality teams.
Yep. All right, final question. I want to get you to forecast a little bit, look into your crystal ball. And you have a unique position of speaking on a pretty regular basis with MedTech leaders. And I'd love your perspective on, from those conversations and otherwise, where do you think this space is headed over the next 6, 12, 18 months?
Yeah, it's a great question, right? Because one of the things that we've seen, and I think probably the concern that we've heard most from the regulatory and quality leaders that we speak with is their products are increasingly global and increasingly complex. And the demand, rightfully, from the regulators is for more data and information, right? We've seen that in a very broad scale from the transition from the MDD to the MDR, where you've got, enhanced reporting requirements and enhanced kind of technical documentation that you have to supply. And that's across the board, right? Globally. And so the expectation is now for your teams to be global experts in compliance, right? That's a really tough task for individuals to do, right? To understand the global regulations, to be able to be compliant 100% of the time without the right tools to equip them. So they need these right tools to equip them to be compliant globally, and then with increasingly complex products. So that's what our data is really structured to do, right? Is to enhance your compliance and to bring that technology that oftentimes is in these products themselves, right? We see lots of companies working on products that have AI, that have advanced technology and algorithms and workflows and software embedded, to actually bring that into the QMS and RIM system, right? So you don't have to just rely on kind of simple workflows. You can actually bring data into those workflows to help you do your job and make your decisions better, right? One of the places that we get really excited about when we're talking with industry leaders is this space of the harmonization of external and internal data, right? Internal data typically is underutilized or underleveraged, again, because of those problems we talked about with the data structure and siloing and cleanliness and the historical issues of how things were organized. We can help structure that data, make that more actionable. And then when we marry that with the external data, that's when I think we get some superpowers in place, right? Like that's when we say, oh, this is really interesting. Not only can we, for example, do something like look at our complaint rates and our action and alert limits and things like that, but we can actually do real benchmarking, apples to other products that are on the market like mine, other sites that are like mine, other compliance issues that are like mine. And so that's where the real power comes from, I think. And we're really excited to partner, with the MedTech industry to do that.
Yeah, just looking back over the last year and all of the development that has happened within Redica, but also to the industry at large, you can't help but be excited for what the next 12 or 24 months will bring. The pace of change seems to be ever accelerating. So I'm very excited, certainly. And I want to thank you for your time, Alison. And let's stay in touch.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
You too. Thanks, John. Bye-bye.